Hello everyone, Josh first back at it again with some more Epic 7, and today we're going to be discussing a very big topic that a lot of you have been wondering for a long time. Why does Smilegate and Super Creative refuse to buff Destina? And I'm here to tell you more than likely the answer to that question. And it comes from not only a financial standpoint, but a balancing issue as well, a stability issue, if you will, within the game and how it's actually designed. So, the problem is if they buff Destina and they make her cooldowns lower, because honestly that is the only buff that she needs, she'd become one of the top used units in the entire game. She's already very powerful within PvP because of how strong her healing potential is. She can actually just reset your team. If you don't one-shot somebody and Destina is still alive and she uses her S3, she's basically just going to go ahead and reset the entire fight for that said team because her heals are that strong. Her combat readiness push is also a nice plus, and her cleansing is the best. Her base stats are also one of the highest in the game for what she does and what she's meant to do. The only kind of bad thing about her is the fact that she has very, very high cooldowns. And that makes her somewhat unusable in a lot of areas of the game, like maybe outside of PvP, mostly in PvE content. A lot of people, of course, would prefer Angelica or even a Katie's. And speaking of Angelica, we're going to be talking about her quite a bit in today's video because she's actually the main reason why Destina has yet to be buffed. Not to say that they won't eventually cave in and give Destina a buff. It's just that Angelica is by far the main reason why Destina has not been buffed. Because right now, if you guys were not aware, if you live under a rock somewhere and you're not playing Epic 7, and if you do and you don't realize this by now, Angelica is probably the most sought after character in all of the game. And I forgot to swap out that Giga Phantasma. Rip my love. My life. Yeah, my love. Yeah, rip my love, guys. Sorry. My heart's broken. But, so anyway, a big problem with Angelica being the way she's built, being extremely powerful for a 4-star, having exceptionally high HP recovery. She has a lot of things going on in her S3. I mean, her S3 is just by far ridiculous. Some of you even claim that she probably needs to be nerfed. Now, the problem with all that is Angelica being so powerful in the way her S3 is developed, she can help you get through a lot of areas of content, like pretty much all areas of content in this entire game. Hell Raid, Normal Raid, all of Abyss, all the altars, everything. All the hunt missions, even Golem, I've seen people use her in Golem. Even Golem 11, like, she shouldn't even be there, but people still use her because she's just so damn powerful. She has so much utility. Now, Falconer Clury was recently nerfed, but Falconer Clury was not making Smilegate any money. She was a specialty change, free-to-play character pretty much because she was only a 3-star, not hard to pull. If a lot of you have pulled, several dozen times by now, you've probably picked up at least one Clury at some point. So it wasn't very much of an issue for Smilegate to go in and can her slightly with a nerf because they weren't really making much money off her anyway. Now, Angelica is their money maker. They are milking the hell out of the player base with Angelica because people are going in the banners week after week after week just trying to pull her if they didn't re-roll for her. A lot of people that are starting the game are being told to re-roll for her. Even if you don't pull a 5-star, if you pull Angelica, she's worth 10 5-stars. Go in and get her. If you see her, take her because she makes your life that much easier. And that's not all just because of how broken Angelica is. It's also kind of how Smilegate and Super Creative designed the game and created that stigma that, you need that really strong healer that has immunity and that barrier protection. A lot of that good stuff that you want to see in a healer / supporter for any kind of team comp because it's just so versatile. It can be used in so many ways in all forms of content. So the way that Smilegate actually built this game, especially in Abyss, where immunity is extremely powerful, even in Raid, might I add, characters with that AoE immunity just become very, very top tier units that you just want to have on your team for any kind of content. Another unit such as that would be like Crimson Armin, but Crimson Armin again is a 4-star Moonlight, much harder to pull than a 4-star Angelica, which you can actually re-roll for with your free multi-summons that you get when you first start the game and beat 110. So a lot of things to consider there. So they're making a ton of money off of Angelica, and thus, because of that, I truly feel and honestly feel that there is no way in hell they're going to buff Destina until possibly the need for Angelica wanes away, but I just don't see that happening either. Or maybe they just finally cave in to the pressure of the player base demanding that Destina gets a buff. Maybe that's another way. Or the fact that perhaps they release a new 5-star hero that could power creep Angelica in such a way that it'll make sense for them to try and recover more money by then buffing Destina, because then people will be going for not only the new character but also wanting to use that Destina as well. And another problem is the fact that a lot of players, when they started this game on global release, a lot of people re-rolled for Destina, because besides Destina, Says was the only other option that people were really trying to re-roll for at that time. Because a lot of players were not really aware of actually how powerful Angelica was. There was even certain situations where a lot of people even thought that Acades was actually the better unit than Angelica, but we quickly found out that Angelica was by far the most superior healer in the game, and that Destina was kind of just left in the shadows there, more or less, for any type of content outside of maybe PvP, like I said. So really, Angelica is definitely by far the main factor in why Destina has yet to be buffed, because if they would buff Destina, the usage for Angelica or people chasing after Angelica would probably wane away slightly, because like I said, a lot of people probably started the game with Destina, so they have Destina sitting around in their box collecting digital dust, not doing much. And it's unfortunate too, because Destina was supposed to be the premier healer. You know, she was the global release banner, and it kind of made her sidelined to a 4-star character, which in my opinion is a bit ridiculous. Now, on the other side of the coin, why won't they nerf Angelica then to make room for Destina, and then maybe push sales for that as well, especially being that she's a 5-star and it'd be a little bit harder to pull her, so they'd probably make potentially more money. The issue with that becomes a major balancing thing. As greedy as Smilegate and Super Creative may seem, there is still some things that a company has to consider to not completely kill their user base and their game overall, so they can keep making money. And right now, Angelica is one of those very, very high tier money makers, but she's also a very good free-to-play option. So as much as we, harp on the fact that this game is all about greed and all about making money, we also do have to consider the way the game is made. Highly doubt they're going to change the way they made the game. It's a little bit too late for that. Angelica is a very solid free-to-play friendly option for the fact that you can re-roll for her, and she's only a 4-star, so she's a lot easier to pull than a 5-star healer. So right now, not only is she making money, she's also helping a lot of free-to-play players get through the game, which could potentially be buyers in the future, because most people is not going to spend money on a game that they can't progress in, and Angelica is that basically that golden ticket to Willy Wonka, aka getting to normal raids, Hunt 11s, stuff like that, where you're going to get the goodies to help you progress further throughout the game and have a more enjoyable gaming experience. Now, within PvP, I can see a lot of people's frustrations because of how Angelica is made and how it can be very tilty and annoying. Yes, I do understand, and I do have some sympathy with you. However, you also got to understand the impact the game would have if they did any kind of significant nerf to try to kill off Angelica. That would be a massive suicide to the game because of how reliant people are for her, because of how good she is and how she helps you. All this, she just gives you easy mode. That's just a bunch of bullshit. You still have to put the same work into her that you do every other character. You still have to 6-star her. You have to awaken her. You still have to build her up with the right gear, and you still have to put 3 capable characters around her to still make her good. She's not good all by herself. She still needs a team like every other unit in the game. The only character I could think of that doesn't really need a good team around him is probably Moonlight Ken, but that's solely because of the way he's built to basically self-sustain himself and basically take out a whole team if need be, or even a whole flock of monsters if need be, and still come out with a whole bunch of HP. But outside of that, pretty much every other character in the game needs a supporting cast. So Angelica, as broken as she may seem, still isn't really doing anything negative to the game. She's very powerful, yes. She's very annoying in PvP, yes. But at the moment, the way the game is designed, she is still needed. She's needed to keep the free-to-plays happy. She's needed to keep the whales that went hard for her happy. She's still making the company a lot of money, which hopefully keeps Smilegate satisfied so they don't go on a more greedy rampage that we don't want to see happen. And right now, she's keeping the game afloat, which is the most important aspect of any game, because if the game does start to not succeed, then we can't play the game anyway. So therefore, what's the point of nerfing a character if nerfing the character is going to mean the end of the player base and the game itself? It's just not worthwhile. But nonetheless, Angelica is by far the main reason that Destina has yet to be buffed. It's unfortunate, I know, but that is definitely what's kind of going on from a money standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from from a balancing standpoint. I see what they're trying to do. It's unfortunate though, because a lot of us would love to see Destina at full potential and really get our money's worth out of her, of how amazing she could possibly be. Like I said, some ideas that I have is they could release another character that could power creep Angelica without nerfing her, still making her powerful and still very usable, but also allowing for another character to kind of take that mantle of making a lot of that money, thus allowing the room that we need for Smilegate to potentially consider buffing Destina, which would also be good for the player base, because now you would have Angelica and Destina both as very powerful healers / supporters that you could have to use, plus whatever the new 5-star hero would be that supposedly power crept both of them. So that would be one thing that I would love to see done, perhaps. It would not only make them money, but it would also make the player base happy, because we'd now have more feasible options. By the way, Destina can also be re-rolled for, so then that would give players that are re-rolling or starting for the first time ever in the game 2 viable options to aim for, which would both be Destina or Angelica. So that would be very, very good overall as well. That would push player base morale, in my opinion, and overall just be good for both parties, us as the players and them as the company. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you guys think. I just don't think Angelica is going to be nerfed, or at least anytime soon, because of some of the points that I've made here in today's video. And do you guys also feel that, like me, that Angelica is actually the main reason why Destina has yet to be buffed? Because you would think at this point, with even the fact that they buffed Ken, that they would have buffed by now, So there you guys go. And if you even want to go a little step further, Ken was buffed extremely well. His buff was probably one of the best buffs ever in this game. They made him extremely usable. But even if you consider his damage output, you could consider that Sirmia just being released recently actually is now the new big fire DPS for mostly PvP content, PvE content. Chiron is still very amazing in PvP, don't get me wrong, but he's not as, I would say, consistent damage-wise as what Sirmia could offer you for PvP, and then of course what she can offer you in like the new Golem 11. So I feel like maybe that's why they were able to finally release a character like Sirmia, because they already made the players happy with Ken. So I don't know. Something to consider there. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that we don't, know for sure of what they're actually doing behind the scenes. But, that's my guess of kind of what's going on, what I think, financially, from a marketing standpoint, from a player-based standpoint, from, balancing structure within the game, player integrity, stuff like that. Keeping the game afloat, essentially, is the most important thing, as I stated. But anyways, you guys let me know what you guys think and all that and more in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video if you did. Let's keep the conversation going, guys. This is a very cool subject. No hate towards anybody here. This is just a simple conversation about what we think, why Destina hasn't been buffed. Will they buff her? Will Angelica suffer because of it? Or will they prosper Or will they even just go ahead and just outright power creep? So all kinds of stuff that we can talk about, guys, below. Make sure you do so. And if you guys want to keep the conversation going before and after the videos, as always, be sure to hit us up in our Discord in the description below. And make sure you subscribe if you're new, as always. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.